Hello YouTubers, welcome to vlog number 68. We've got breakfast on a Sunday. Yeah. And we're going to have a great relaxing Sunday. Slept till like 4 in the afternoon. Now to have some food, and today I think I'll talk about the differences and the benefits and what my experience have been with the GoPro versus the Sony A7III that you guys see now. Let's get to that after breakfast. Okay, it's later on in the day, grabbed the shower, got some food in, recovery. Now we're going to talk about the difference between this GoPro when vlogging versus this camera. So what I've been doing with the GoPro is using a Jobby Gorilla Pod, or one of the small ones, the hybrid one I believe, one of the hybrid ones, with little skeleton case. GoPro goes in here. And then once it's there, pretty much it. But then when you film with the GoPro itself, the microphones start to be not the best. So that was one of the things when I first started, I was like, sound has to be okay, or at least the sound quality. Maybe I had some issues with volume and whatnot, but sound quality. So that's when one of these comes in. So this is a GoPro mic adapter. It goes into the USB-C port in the side. Gives you another USB-C port and a 3.5mm jack for the microphone, which is on this camera right now. So then you have this. So it's a reasonably large. It's not just a GoPro. It's a reasonably large thing to be holding around like so, but works very well. Very easy. It's just basically one button on, one button off. Really simple. Very light, easy to throw around. Very wide angle, so you can be pretty close to your face and it still catch you, and you have basically no worries about it being you being in frame. And also, since it's so wide and since it's a GoPro, there is no issues of any. There is no focus issues because everything's in focus 100% of the time. Then we talk about this camera. So, why have I switched cameras? Why did I want to get this camera? The GoPro itself in low light is not ideal. So probably maybe this, that's too dark for the GoPro, and I'm hoping that this is okay for the Sony. So that's because it's a full frame sensor on the Sony versus not a full frame sensor. It's much smaller. I can't remember that exact size, but basically the GoPro sensor is, I can't even show, the GoPro sensor is tiny versus the full frame sensor. When you take the lens off of this camera, the sensor's like this size, roughly, but makes a big difference. Let's see, what else is better about the Sony and the GoPro? Well, they both shoot the same frame rate, so you've got 4K 30, 1080p at 120, 1080p 60, different profiles, all that stuff. Well, the profiles in the Sony is better, so that's one thing. But you can still like color grade and stuff in the GoPro. But it's quite difficult, like I said, in the low light, etc. They both have the same frame rates, yes, but it just isn't the same. That's why you see, and so if you go like vlog 67, 66, the one with my sister, that's the slow-mo there is a lot better. Like it's not low light, but when this is in that room, it is low light. When this is in there, it's bright enough, you can shoot at 120 FPS with no issues whatsoever, everything's still crisp. And that's one of the big things I looked at when getting this camera was, does it do 1080p at 120 FPS? Yes it does. And will it do well? And luckily I got to test the A9 and that was ridiculous, so I was hoping that the A7 III would do sort of similar there. Other differences, obviously the weight, so I've got this smaller Jobby tripod on here. On here with the Sony, it is the next step up. I can't remember the name. I've got links in the description to all these parts, so the adapter, the casing, the Sony, the microphone, the tripods, all that, just if you want to take a look down in this description below, even all my computer stuff and all that's in there too, just if you want to see what I've been using. But it is a lot heavier. It's not too bad, so I'm walking around, I'm catching myself and vlogging. It's not too bad. It's still, like I'm only doing so a few seconds here, a few seconds there, so it's not like my arm's going to fall off. But when I am like this, so I'm not holding the camera on purpose because it gets heavy. for a long period of time. The GoPro doesn't get heavy. I'll take this thing. The GoPro doesn't get heavy. It's just so light and so versatile. And obviously one of the big things about this is it's waterproof. Obviously I can't throw this onto this, I can't throw the Sony on the side of a boat and be very comfortable. But I can stick this on the bows or the stern of a boat, I can put it on one of the riggers and it gets wet, who cares? Yes, the Sony is weather sealed and the lens is all that, but it's not waterproof like this. You can't dunk the Sony like you can dunk this in the water and be okay with it. As long as you've tethered it down, you're not. You're going to be okay. What else is the difference? What else would I say? Obviously the price. This is significantly cheaper than the Sony. You can pick one of the, so as a Hero 5 Black, you can pick one up for around 300 now, I think. And the Sony A7III is 2000. So obviously a big price difference, and you'd hope to get a significantly better camera for a significantly higher price, which you do. Good. And what else? What else? Let's see. They both link to your phones really well. The GoPro app for linking to your phone, so you can see what you can, like having two monitors. So one of the things I wanted to do, so as you can see, there's two cold shoe mounts. One has a mic on, and I actually have another mount somewhere that goes on the side, and then you can attach the phone to it. So you can do this, and then that means, so initially I was thinking I'm going to need to do that so I can see where the camera's pointing, but then I realised it's so wide it doesn't matter. And you get used to where your hand should be and all that anyway. But in theory, you can add sort of a mount here as well, like that or like this, to see your phone, or to see what the camera itself sees while you're holding the camera up. You get the same with the Sony Play Memories app. You can do the same thing, just there's not two mounts on the camera itself. Obviously the image quality is outstanding on the Sony. I've not taken that many pictures because it's pretty much all been video, but the pictures I have taken, even straight JPEGs, are just ridiculous. I barely have to, it's pretty much all down to the autofocus, and that is huge. So like I've said about the GoPro, everything's in focus because it's so wide, and it's just, everything's in focus. As you can see in this camera, behind me should be kind of blurry, but not like so blurry, just because of the type of lens it is, but I should be in focus. Some cameras have issues in that department of focusing. So I knew that to switch cameras out from the GoPro, I wanted to have a camera that I didn't have to worry about the focusing issues. And so I'm looking at different Panasonic cameras, different Olympus cameras, and then I looked at the Sony cameras, and the Sony ones seem to be, apart from Canon's Julie F system, the Sony cameras seem to be up there. And then when I tested the Sony A9, that's when I knew the autofocus system on these cameras is just ridiculous. Completely acceptable for what I need it to do. And that is the whole idea with that type of camera and this focusing system. I think it looks better, and it just gives the videos just a little better look and all that stuff. The quality of the video, yes, like I said, they do all the same frame rates, but the quality of the video itself is ridiculous. The difference is ridiculous. So you can shoot in 100 megabit a second on the Sony, and you can't on here. Just so much data is squeezed into each sort of frame, each file, and you can color grade a lot. You could fire up the contrast, fire up the brightness, change the highlights, change the shadows, do all that stuff, and the picture still looks good. Whereas you get into the GoPro, and you can only really make some slight adjustments, even if you're trying to shoot in the native white balance or all that stuff. But when you shoot an S-Log, any of the log profiles on the Sony, you can essentially do whatever you like, and that's going to look how you want it to look, rather than you're restricted by the GoPro itself. You can't quite change it and make it look quite as good. You can't quite change it as much as you might want to. That's why I started filming in the native color balance and pretty much doing it all manual. It was taking me so long to color grade during every edit. With the GoPro footage, I said I'm just going to put it on auto, keep the ISO down, try and get as little noise as possible. But color, just GoPro do your thing. White balance, GoPro do your thing, because the colour most of the time is decent, especially, like I've said, when there is light, enough light. But then say you're going, like if I go around the shops, there's usually a yellow tint or whatever, and the camera just gets a bit confused and the auto isn't quite there. So I'm better editing a few clips here and there rather than every single clip. And like I said, it's quite difficult to make the clips how I would want them if I'm doing it all manual. But on the Sony, you do what you like essentially to the images, to the videos, and they are just how you want them. I've pretty much only been shooting the Sony on auto. I've tried out all the log profiles, tried out different settings, but I feel like the auto is really good for me, and it means that the edits become much faster. It's just a case of putting them in, and I can obviously still change some things here and there, but right now I think it's quite suitable to keep on auto, and pretty much you just turn on, click, and go. And that's one of the things. So the GoPro, you just click, wait a second for it to boot up, and you're on the camera. And on the Sony, click it on, so it's 2 buttons, so click on and then the record button. The record button on this versus A9 is actually different. It sort of sticks out more and you can press it, it's much easier to feel. And all the buttons have been slightly changed on this versus the A9, which I didn't realise they had done, but it's like, it just feels a bit more it might be because it's a bit newer, but they just feel a bit more spongy, a bit more tactile maybe. But I think that is it for today's Sunday vlog. Adam Neil is very excited to watch Star Wars, so I might join him there once I've finished the vlog, once I've finished the editing. But really excited for the beginning of the new program this week. So it's we'll find out this week what the program is specifically, but it's more spread out than what I've been doing. It's not just one session and off you go, one long session. It's multiple shorter sessions, and then we're introducing weights and sort of things like that more consistently, rather than sort of me just, okay, it's weights time. And I'll try and keep you all in the loop of what I'm doing as well there. But remember, subscribe if you haven't already, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments below if you like this type of video, just me talking away to the camera, not so much about rowing, about the tech I get. I know there's been a couple of comments about me doing some tech videos, and I do like my gadgets, so maybe I'll do some more videos like this where I'm chatting about the different technologies that I may have or may come across as I go forward. For example, my heart rate monitor. This is a heart rate monitor, everybody that keeps asking, but obviously not everyone's watched every single vlog, and I do mention it. But heart rate monitor, like my gadgets. If you want to see more gadget reviews or something like that, or any other ideas you may have, let me know in the comments below. Have a good one.